Hello and welcome to Economic Forum, where we discuss various issues affecting our economy in Zimbabwe. My name is John Masuku. On the 19th of January 2022, the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority, ZIMRA, issued a public notice which was notifying the public about some of the taxes which were mentioned by the minister during his budget speech. And today we would like to unpack those taxes so that they are better understood by everyone. And to do that, we've invited a tax analyst, Mr. Prince Makoni, to come and help us understand some of the taxes. Mr. Makoni, welcome to Economic Forum.
Thank you, John.
I think the first thing is, why do citizens have an obligation to pay taxes?
Oh, thank you, John. The background of taxation did not start today. Taxation has started in the time past, where citizens would pool their resources to finance the operations of their governments. As you'd recall, citizens have got an obligation to pay these taxes to finance public goods that are provided by the state. And by the state, I mean it also has a responsibility to provide these public goods, which goods nobody is willing to give to make to people. These goods which include public health, schools, water and sanitation, roads, and the like. These goods can only be provided by the government. So as citizens, they have got an obligation to do that. As citizens, there's an old adage that says, those who love their country, those who love themselves, and the highest form of loving yourself or your country is by paying your taxes. So taxes plays a very important role in the nation building. Remember these days there is so when we pay our taxes, and taxes is the cheapest form of government finance. We have got other sources of finance, but taxation is the cheapest form by which government finances its operations.
Do you think citizens are well informed about this obligation? Because time and again, when taxes or levies are raised, people do complain and they say, we don't know where this money is going. Do you think people are adequately informed about how taxes are used?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that whatever that we touch, whatever you do is taxed. So nobody in the state escapes tax, whether you are a child or you are a dead person. Everything in between pays tax. And everyone should be informed. Yes, ZIMRA or the tax authority has a role to inform the taxpayers on which taxes and how these taxes are paid and why they should pay. Remember, tax is informed by what you call the tax morale. What do people, the citizens, benefit by paying taxes? What do they get from the state? If you pay your taxes, you expect certain public goods to be provided to you. So we call that tax morale. Do you have a benefit from that? Do you get it? And if those, then in other instances, we have the tax authorities now coming with a carrot and stick. If you don't pay taxes, we've got a stick on our back. We'll penalize you.
Just to add on to your adages, the other one for those who come from a Christian background is render to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Is it?
Certainly.
Yes. So if you could just go on to mention some of the taxes so that we know which tax obligations we have in different capacities as citizens of Zimbabwe.
Yes, there are quite a number of taxes. I would want to break them. There are direct taxes and indirect taxes. The direct taxes are those that are borne by the taxpayer directly. For example, when you get your salary at work, those employment taxes, the payees and so forth. You have got, if you're a company, you have got your income taxes, you make a profit, and on those taxes, you are the person who bears that tax. Then we also have the indirect taxes, those that include VAT, the value-added tax, that which you just is put on the price. You don't even know how much is there. So I think on that aspect, the citizens have to be informed how much of it is going to value-added tax. You have those customs duties. This is very common with Mambuya or the cross borders or the small enterprises, those small to medium enterprises. They understand the customs duties. When you import your goods into Zimbabwe, you have to pay certain taxes at the borders. You have to pay those taxes, and most of them are paid in foreign currency. So we have got the indirect and the direct taxes, and there are quite a number of them. The IMMT, the mobile tax, the 2% that made a lot of noise in Zimbabwe, is also another form of tax that everyone, for as long as you have a phone gadget, you pay taxes. So
the noise gone now?
It's not yet gone.
But at the time when the minister issues his budget statement, why is it that they are not immediately implemented? There has to be such public notices as was issued by the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority, which then reinforces these taxes and further explains them.
Yes, when the minister issues his budget statements, it includes a whole lot of things to do with how the monetary system will work, the finance, the expenditures, and how you raise incomes or taxes from the state, from the citizens. Now, ZIMRA will then come in to try and provide guidance on certain issues that are too technical for the layman to understand, for the common man out there to understand, to say, no, this is how we are going to levy the taxes. Remember, there was also noise about people paying your pay in RTGS and Forex. If you are earning in US dollars and part of it in RTGS, how that was going to be addressed. So ZIMRA come in to give the guidance on the implementing part, to say, no, this is how to break it down, in fact, the public statement.
Mr. Prince Makoni, who is a tax analyst, helping us here to understand how the tax system works. But further to that, we are going to be unpacking the public notice that was issued by the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority, explaining the minister's last budget speech so that it is better understood how the new taxes or tax changes are going to be implemented. Please join us in the second segment. Welcome to the second segment of Economic Forum, where we discuss various issues affecting our economy. And today we've got Mr. Prince Makoni, who is a tax analyst, who is helping us to understand tax issues in Zimbabwe, and particularly the public notice issued by ZIMRA on the 19th of January, explaining the last budget speech by the Minister of Finance so that people understand the taxes that they have to pay. Please get in touch with us on issues that you'd like to address in this program on the numbers that are showing on your screen. And you can also view some of the programs that have already been broadcast on our YouTube channel, which is Economic Forum Zimbabwe. Mr. Makoni, let's come to the administration of taxes. How is it organized so that people understand who is who there?
Previously, there was a Department of Customs and Taxes, remember, before the inception of ZIMRA in 2003, which brought about the administration under one roof, where the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority now administers those taxes. And it has got a mandate under the Revenue Act to administer the collection, the enforcement, and the facilitation of certain trade and travel across Zimbabwe's borders as well. So it collects all these state revenue heads, the income tax, value-added tax, you talk of your capital gains tax, you talk of those customs duties, you talk of estate duties, you talk of the digital taxes. So it administers those under the Revenue Act.
How about situations whereby taxes are deducted from your salaries or from your earnings, but they're not remitted to ZIMRA? Who then has got a problem with ZIMRA there? Is it your employer or is it yourself? Because it also happens with regards to pensions.
Generally, employers collect taxes on behalf of their employees. When the authority introduced what they call the final deduction system, that's where the employer will just collect the payees from your income, from your salaries, and it has got an obligation to remit those taxes within or by the 10th of the following month. It was just done as an administrative issue to reduce the administrative cost. If say Zimbabwe has got 2 million employees and each and everyone will submit a return to say I've earned this every month. That will create an administrative burden on the authority. But as employers, they've got the mechanisms and the systems where they can just collect the taxes and remit. So that reduces that burden.
Let's now go to some of the changes that are contained in the public notice that we referred to. What is it that has changed? Let's look at value-added tax or VAT. You know, as you explain, you just summarize what is VAT all about, because there are so many of them and you don't know the difference between VAT, income tax, and this tax and so forth. So VAT, as you explain it, and also what has changed.
Yes, like I'd already alluded to say that value-added tax is an indirect tax. You don't feel it, you don't see it, but it's there. You see it in the changes in the prices. So when VAT is added on a certain products, and there are some unscrupulous business who do not want to include VAT, they will say that this price excludes value-added tax. It's unlawful. So you have to put so that the price reflects the correct price. So value-added tax in 2022, the state or the minister, he wants to collect as much from this tax head. This is one of the cash cows of the authority. Take a value-added tax.
What makes it a cash cow? Because people don't know much about it.
Yes, because it's a tax on trade, it's a tax on sale, and it's a tax on consumption. So it remits a lot than other tax heads. It's a higher, what can you call it? It collects revenue more than other tax heads. So in 2022, in trying to collect as much from this tax head, the minister implemented what we call a fiscalization drive, where registered operators are now expected to purchase or to own a fiscal gadget, which gadget, when they have it, each time you make a sale, it records directly to Zimra servers. So there's no more fraud in between. Zimra will know that you've made a sale of $200, the other one. So in each currency, so there's a gadget for the Zimbabwe dollar and a gadget for the US dollar. So some will be selling their products in United States dollars and remitting RTGS. So the minister just saw that and he wants to close that arbitrage opportunity where the traders, some traders were benefiting from that, where some employees were also benefiting from that. They are paid in United States dollars, and through their employer, they will say, no, we don't pay US dollars, we pay in RTGS. So
but the catch here, Mr. Makoni, is registration itself. Many people avoid registration because it comes with it a lot of things like taxation and so forth. How do we ensure that businesses are properly registered so that the government can collect these taxes? Or even local authorities, people decide, to operate from outside designated premises so that they avoid registration. How do we deal with that so that we collect enough taxes?
Yes, that's the tricky question now, to say, how do you then tap in the underground economy?
Yes.
The formal economy is easy to tax. Yes. They make the follow-ups and they will comply. But the underground economy is difficult to tax anywhere else in the world. Remember, Zimbabwe is around 55 to 60% informalized. So
we're losing out on that.
We are losing out on that because when people see that the taxes are a bit high on the high side, they avoid them and go into the underground economy, yes, where there are no taxes, there are no rules, there are no regulations.
Yes. Let's very quickly go to income tax and most probably to customs duties before we go into the third segment.
Yes, the income taxes per se, those are direct taxes on incomes. When you make a profit, for example, as a company, you get to tax your incomes at 24%. If you get your employment, your salary, your incomes from employment, those forms part of the incomes. So nothing much has changed under this tax head, but Zimra is still also making a follow-up on this kind of taxes.
Okay. Yeah. That's Mr. Prince Makoni, who is a tax analyst, who is helping us to understand the public notice issued by the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority in order to explain the minister's budget speech, particularly those issues pertaining to new taxes or new tax regulations here on Economic Forum, where you can get in touch with us about different topics. But again, join us in the third and final segment of the program. Welcome to the third and final segment of Economic Forum, where today we are discussing taxes with tax analyst Prince Makoni. Mr. Makoni, we were discussing income tax, VAT. We did not quite go into the thresholds. What are they?
Okay, so for the value added tax for you to be registered, according to the finance minister, for the year you should be making 7.8 million in sales. That is compulsory. So anybody who is making sales up to 7.8 per year, or if you feel that you are going to exceed that threshold, you have to register before the year. So if you are making sales that make you feel that you make or exceed the threshold, you have to register. Yes.
Okay. Now let's go on to the other taxes that remain, like the presumptive taxes, capital gains tax, and so forth. Again, explaining them for the layperson to understand what presumptive tax is all about. Capital gains tax,
yes.
What is it all about? And what are the changes that the minister has implemented?
Yes, I'll start with the presumptive tax. To presume is to guess or to, it's just to assume. So in the tax circles, we call it the A student tax. The minister in 2020 announced that certain professions or professionals are not paying enough taxes or correct taxes, or they're not paying taxes at all. So we call them the A students at school. The architects, the engineers. You talk of your lawyers, your doctors. So it just wanted to say those professionals, in as much as they are too professional, those people who use their skills to make money, to make a living, are not paying taxes. So he put in a presumptive tax to say, we assume that you are making so much. In as much maybe you are not making any money. This was just a guidance to say you should register and be formal, and that we know you are there, or you are paying certain tax or certain amounts of taxes. So for 2022, he raised this to now 800, between 412 and 3 million, and the highest being the estate agents. I don't know the reasoning, but most of the A students, the architects, the lawyers, and the engineers, they are at 800,000 per month. So if you are not registered, if you are not compliant, you pay that much. So Zimra will leave you 800,000 per month, which is too much, quite a chunk. So the point is register, be compliant. Then
capital gains.
The major change in capital gains. Capital gains, we are saying it's a tax on wealth. So this is more like in tax circles than being a tax. The people who have things, who have got wealth, who own shares, who own properties. So each time you dispose a property, they are now saying because of the administrative burden since 2015 or any time before 2019, there were certain changes, a lot of changes in terms of currency and inflation. So the minister says, no, we cannot then adjust, because when you want to calculate the gain, there are certain formulas that you use to come up with the gain. So it's impossible, it's now difficult to come up with the gain. So you just say at a flat rate of 5%, if you acquired your property between 2015 and 2019, you are going to be left at 5% of the sale amount. So if you sell your house at, say, 500,000, the capital gain will be 5%. But for those that acquired those properties after February 2019 to date are taxed on the capital gain, not on the sale amount. On the capital gain, after having put in the cost and the inflation adjustments, so it's 20% of the capital gain. Yes.
In that regard, Mr. Makoni, many people then, take time or are hesitant to actually go forward either to the master's office and so, because they know there are so many taxes that are going to be demanded, even on estate duties and so forth. How can that be averted so that people, comply and complete these things and pay accordingly?
You approach the professionals. There's a medical professional, there's a legal professional. But for tax issues, they are tax professionals, people who assist with those issues, people who are well informed about every change that happens within the state, within the jurisdiction.
And even Zimra itself also has got a lot of information on its website.
Yes, a lot of information is on the website. You don't even need, but some of each is technical.
Okay.
You need someone to explain to you the days or the either or the the what ifs. There are a lot of legal jargon there, so half the time you need a professional, a tax professional in that regard.
Tell us about whistleblowers. They used to be paid something, for tipping the taxman that Mr. Makoni is not paying tax, or Mr. Masuku is not paying tax, but now it has to be voluntary. Do we still have any whistleblowers after these changes?
I've always thought that there's no whistleblower anyway. No one is a whistleblower. It is about maybe it's vengeance. You are coming after someone. But like I've already said, that the highest form of self-love and love for your country is when you pay your taxes. So when you advise your neighbor, you are not paying your taxes. You don't whistleblow, just go and report. There's no more benefit, there's no advantage when you whistleblow. Zimra is no longer going to pay the state. The minister said, no, there are so many frivolous applications, whistleblowing. People have got this knowledge, this information, some of each which was insider trading. So there was no whistleblowing in the first place. So he has removed it. So if you love your country, come forward with information that you have and you'll take action.
And you've just said, if you love your country. We notice that in some countries, particularly in the Western world, even if you want to run for political office, those are some of the things that they look at. That you are running for presidency, but you have not been paying taxes and so forth. Why is that important, and why do we not emphasize on that in our own countries?
Yes, you can't stand and allocate other people's money. You must be one of the payers. You must be a taxpayer. You must be one of the contributors, because public office and public goods, they go hand in hand. How are you going to then provide certain public goods when you don't know how painful tax is? Tax is a painful pill to swallow for everyone, and you have to feel it as well. So everyone must be compliant. So everyone has got an obligation to taxation.
I think what you've emphasized is compliance and honoring our obligations as citizens, so that government can be run properly with our payment of taxes. I think that's one takeaway from Mr. Prince Makoni, who has been with us on Economic Forum. He's a tax analyst, and we are unpacking the Revenue Authority, or the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority statement that was explaining the minister's budget statement with regard to payment of taxes. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can do so on the phone numbers that are showing on your screen. And if you'd like to watch some of the past episodes, you can do so on our YouTube channel, which is Economic Forum Zimbabwe. So on behalf of our guest, Mr. Prince Makoni, a tax analyst, this is John Masuku saying goodbye for now.